All right, so my hope today is that at the end of this presentation, you'll have a better understanding of what body image is and how it impacts mental health in adolescents and young adults, that you'll learn some specific ways to promote a positive body image in ourselves and for the world, and that you'll learn some specific ways to combat or ignore messages that promote a negative body image. So starting off, I wanted to give a basic definition of body image, and body image is basically defined as how we see ourselves or how we perceive our bodies. It's what we believe about our own physical appearance and about how our bodies look. It's also how we sense and control our bodies as they move, and basically how we physically experience or feel in our bodies. An overall body image generally encompasses how we feel about our bodies and our physical appearance. And so there's a spectrum of body image going from positive to negative. And positive body image is a realistic perception of one's body, and it involves accepting or feeling comfortable in one's own body. On the other hand, negative body image is the distorted perception of one's body, and it involves feeling shameful, anxious, or self-conscious about one's body. And body image can differ from hour to hour, day to day, week to week. And our body image might also change as we develop or go through different stages in our lives, including puberty, going to college, changing schools, because our bodies change a lot during these periods and our circumstances change a lot during these periods as well. So I wanted to get a general sense of individuals in the room of, how satisfied are you with your body? So if you're comfortable sharing, and this is an anonymous poll, if you want to text, first you text Brenna W136 to the number 22333, and then it should allow you to text in your answer. So if people feel comfortable sharing that, they can also share it in the chat, but I'll leave this up for a few minutes either to answer any questions people have so far or to share their answers. Okay, good, it's working. All right, so we have some answers coming in. And as they keep coming in, I do see just right now that just yet nobody has said they're very satisfied with their bodies, but we do have people that lie on this spectrum of body satisfaction, right? As some people feeling pretty comfortable with their bodies, somewhat comfortable, a little, and not at all. And I do really love that we have a majority of people who are saying that they are mostly satisfied with their bodies, because that's absolutely wonderful. And if you have responded that you're only somewhat, only a little satisfied, or not at all satisfied with your body, I want you to know that you're not alone. So I'm going to move on to the next slide. So thank you so much for those who did participate in this poll, and we will continue to have other polls as well where you can text in some answers to questions. So thank you for that. All right, so if you said that you were only a little satisfied with your body or not at all satisfied with your body, you're not alone. Up to 84% of adolescents are not satisfied with their bodies, and up to about 80% of adults are also not satisfied with their bodies. So many, many people experience negative body image and body dissatisfaction. So I'd love to hear from some people, maybe some discussion in the chat about how people think negative body image impacts adolescents and young adults. Yes, I can see the chat on here. And if you also want to share a verbal response, you can raise your hand and have yourself unmuted if anyone has an idea of how negative body image impacts young adults, maybe mental health-wise, with relationships. Oh yeah, it can definitely become a negative view of the self as a whole. And we'll talk about how it definitely affects self-esteem and how we view our entire selves, our personality characteristics, our capabilities to do other things. Yeah, definitely makes people feel insecure, not confident, unhealthy eating habits.
Logan, you raised your hand. Did you want to add a comment? I think I unmuted you.
I don't think we're able to hear you, Logan. I'm sorry. I see some really great answers in the chat, everyone. Thank you so much. Yeah, I see a lot of answers about anxiety, worrying. I'm so sorry that your audio is not working, Logan. I'd love to see your answers in the chat. I would have loved to hear your voice as well. But everyone has really gotten to great points: depression, anxiety, disordered eating behaviors, self-consciousness, all of these things. And the next slide, I have the impact of negative body image on mental health. And everybody really discussed these things in the chat box. So it definitely leads to lower self-esteem for sure, right? It affects the way that we perceive ourselves. It also leads to increased social comparison. So we do compare ourselves to other people more often. And I also wanted to point out that we have a tendency to compare ourselves to people who we think are quote unquote better than us. So people who maybe get better grades, they're better at a sport that we really like. We have a tendency to compare ourselves to those we perceive as better than us, rather than comparing ourselves to people who are that we're better than. So that's just something to keep in mind. Again, it also leads to depression. It can lead to self-harm behaviors and suicidal ideation, especially if it makes us feel that we're unworthy for any reason, which it can lead to. And it's also related to anxiety, like everyone said. If we are really anxious about our bodies or how people will judge our bodies, then we may start isolating ourselves or avoiding people, or just being really, really afraid of judgment from other people. And like everyone said, definitely disordered eating behaviors and eating disorders, there's a very strong link of negative body image to eating disorders. And I'll go more into that on the next slide, because that's what I study, as was introduced. But before I move on to eating disorders, does anyone have any comments or questions about how negative body image might impact mental health? Yeah, Logan, definitely. Like, body image impacts how we're not even allowed to do specific things. It can definitely affect our self-efficacy and making us feel like we can't do any other things even outside of our body. All right, so regarding negative body image and eating disorders, as we know, they're very strongly linked. And essentially, when we have negative body image, we might be encouraged, or we might feel that we need to drastically change our bodies to feel better about them, which might involve disordered eating behaviors like dieting, restriction, or fasting, which is when we skip several meals in one day. There might also be calorie counting involved, obsessive calorie counting, maybe use of diet pills or appetite suppressants to try to manipulate one's shape or weight. And when you engage in these types of restrictive behaviors, you're going to end up being really hungry, because you're limiting either the food intake or the types of foods that you're having, which has been shown to lead to binge eating behaviors. So, which is when you engage in eating a large amount of food in a short period of time and feel that your eating is out of control. So engaging in those types of eating disorder behaviors can also lead to binge eating. And sometimes when people feel like they've eaten too much, or they want to get rid of what they've eaten to try to compensate and prevent weight gain, they might engage in purging, they might misuse laxatives or diuretics, they might also engage in some excessive exercise. And also, many people do also use steroids to try to manipulate their body shape or their weight or their body composition or muscle mass. And another thing that's really common with eating disorders and just having a negative body image might be having some obsessive thoughts about food, weight, or shape. We're constantly thinking about what to eat next, how much of what we're going to eat next, constantly thinking about how to lose weight or how to gain weight, maybe constantly thinking about how to change our shape so that we can feel better about ourselves. And also having a negative body image and something that's very strong like the eating disorders is social isolation, because it can lead us to avoid hanging out with other people, avoid seeing other people. It can just really impact our ability to be social. And we might choose not to hang out with friends because they're going out to specific restaurants and we don't want to be tempted by that type of food. So now that we have an idea of how having a negative body image is bad, why do so many of us feel badly about our bodies? Where do these messages come from? And I'd love to hear some answers either in the chat or from voices. Yes, social media and society, media, social standards. Colonialism, yes, definitely. Peer pressure, comparing ourselves, definitely family members and friends. Bullying for sure. Yep, people who might see you as lesser than, standards. Social media is a big one. Media is a big one, especially maybe certain types of social media like Instagram was mentioned. Others, yeah, you guys have hit so many of the things. Bad representation of body types in media as well, for sure, a representation of certain body types. So a lot of these messages come from society, social media, those types of things. So going into, I would love to hear, so we have like society is telling us and giving us these messages, right? They're telling us we should feel badly about our bodies. But what does society tell us the ideal person should look like? I'd love people to list maybe some physical features of what the ideal person looks like, whether it's male, female, any sort on the binary, any gender, anything. Yes, definitely thin. Thin, especially for women, is one of those things that's perceived as the ideal. Small waist, big butt, skinny. I love saying y'all as well. Y'all, tall. My phone also does that because I am from Texas. Thin, hourglass figure. For men, definitely muscular. Yes, a six-pack, nice hair, long hair, perfect skin, tan, good figure. Yeah, definitely. Most people, I think, associate being feminine as being small and masculine as being bulky and having larger bodies. Slim, thick, yes. Big butt, size 0. Definitely clear skin. These are really, really great answers, everyone. Thank you so much for contributing. So all of these things that we mentioned are what promote negative body image. So this is something that we would consider the appearance ideal, which is how society and culture tells us we should look. And for women, a lot of times this is considered the thin ideal, and for men, this is considered the muscular ideal. But I do want to emphasize that this differs between cultures, and it can change across history. So for many women in Western society, messages have been perceived that thin equals good, and for men in Western society, it's been promoted that muscular equals good or fit equals good. And so this does change based on your cultural affiliation, your historical background. But the thing that really matters is that there are contradicting standards within the appearance ideal. Many of you mentioned things like big butt, but small waist, right? Another thing that's common in the appearance ideal for a woman might be having a large bust. So having a large bust and a large butt, but a thin waist, can be very difficult to achieve based on genetics, and also achieving a very muscular body type while also being thin and having a six-pack can also be pretty difficult to achieve because of genetics, monetary costs. In all honesty, the appearance ideal is really difficult for most people to achieve without plastic surgery and all the costs that come along with it. So these three messages come to us from, like you guys said, social media, advertisements, the way bodies are showed to us in media, and the lack of body diversity. Diet and fitness industries are very popular for promoting these messages because they make money off of these messages. The fashion industry, and then also society, our friends and family, and ourselves. We also promote these images or the appearance ideal because it's just how we were raised in, the culture we were raised in. So, but we're going to learn how to promote positive body image for ourselves in society. But all right, so that's the appearance ideal. I want you guys to forget about that, shift your perspective to what's going to promote a positive body image. That is what we call the healthy ideal. And so the healthy ideal is how your body looks when you are fully healthy. And this means physical health, mental, emotional health, social health, intellectual health, spiritual health, all of those different facets of health. And this is how your body looks when you are healthy in all of those different areas. So if you have some examples of physical, mental, emotional health, or social health that I don't have up here, please share them because there's so many more than the ones I mentioned here. Or if there's any other facets of health, please help me out and give me some examples. But when you're physically healthy, you're engaging in appropriate amounts of physical activity, not excessive amounts. You would be eating regularly and having balanced meals, and you'd be regularly seeing a doctor. Mental and emotional health, if that's being met, you'd be able to concentrate on important tasks, enjoy hobbies, have a healthy balance of both positive and negative emotions, because negative emotions are good experiences to have too. It's a good balance, that's important. And you would feel optimistic or at least neutral about the future. And social health would be being met by spending time with your loved ones, engaging in meaningful conversation with other people, and feeling like you have a healthy support system, a group of people who are supporting you. So this is the way your body looks when all of these things are being met. And that's what really matters. That's what we're trying to achieve because that's what is truly healthy, right? And that's what's keeping you healthy. And it's not following what the appearance ideal and what society is telling us that we need to look like. It's following what our bodies are telling us that we should look like and what we need to look like, because that's where our bodies want us to be when we are fully healthy. All right, so having a positive body image also impacts our mental health, surprise, positively. So it can improve our self-esteem. It can prevent or lower rates of depression. There are also lower rates of disordered eating behaviors. There's a lower drive for the appearance ideal, especially in research shows that people with a positive body image are less likely to want to promote or to achieve the muscular ideal. And there's greater protection of one's body. So engaging in more of those behaviors like using sunscreen, going to see the doctor, and there's also greater self-care behaviors. So engaging in physical activity, meditation, and enjoying leisure activities. So overall, having a positive body image is something that can really promote positive mental health and have some really good outcomes. All right, so moving into promoting a positive body image in ourselves. So when we can know about the appearance ideal, we can start to challenge the appearance ideal, right? So reminding ourselves that the appearance ideal is socially constructed and it's extremely difficult to achieve, right? Just like we learned. It's also really helpful, especially on maybe some bad body image days, to focus on your body's function. So reminding yourself of some of the things or all of the things that your body does that you are grateful for or that you appreciate. Like, I appreciate my hands because they help me draw. I appreciate my legs because they help me play my favorite sport or they take me places. whatever is something you can do to appreciate the functions of your body. Maybe even I appreciate my stomach because it protects my vital organs, that type of thing. You can also practice self-compassion. So if you do notice that you're feeling particularly badly about your body, instead of reacting to yourself critically and saying some self-critical things, practicing some more self-kindness. So try saying to yourself something like, I accept myself as I am today, or I accept my body as I am, or may I accept my body. Just something that can be kind to your body rather than criticizing it. And notice when you're comparing yourself to others. Like I said, we have a tendency to compare ourselves to those that are better than us or better than us. So, you know, they're maybe taller than us and we wish we were taller, or they're thinner than us and we wish we were thinner, or they are more muscular and we wish we looked like that. Notice when you're making those comparisons and try to stop yourself, because that's a totally different human being that you're comparing yourself to, right? And you have good qualities within yourself too. And there are likely things that you excel at, whether it's academics, hobbies you have, maybe a sense of style you have, just finding those things that you appreciate about yourself and ending that comparison in the moment. And also focusing on the positives. So reminding yourself of the physical characteristics that you do like about yourself and listing them out. Whether it's, I like my eyes, maybe it's I like the color of my hair, I like my legs, I like my arms, whatever sort of physical attribute you have that you really like. All right, so I'd love to hear some things that people like, love, or accept about their bodies. If people feel comfortable listing out some things that they appreciate about their bodies, whether you love it, you like it, or you're just kind of in that acceptance mode. But good. Safe. I love that. I love my vocal cords because they allow me to sing. Thank you for sharing a function of a physical attribute that you love. Or height, long eyelashes, hands, brain, yes. Close. I'm sorry. You like your ear, awesome. Skin, nose. Yeah. Being able to appreciate having thick legs that allow you to do so much and lift weight, awesome. Nose because you breathe through it, yes. Dimples, breasts, having very strong legs, hands, awesome. And it can be really helpful to list out some of these things and to accept them or say that you love them. And if you are struggling to find anything that you can just even accept or that you do like or you love, I encourage you at some point, maybe within the next week, to go stand in front of a mirror and just make a list of 10 things that you like about yourself, with at least a few of them being physical characteristics. You can say, you know, friendliness, my laugh, things like that, but trying to stick to some things that are also physical as well. Thank you so much for sharing all of these physical characteristics that you love, like, and accept about your body. And I do encourage you outside of this to continue finding things that you do appreciate about your physical body. So thank you so much. All right, so I also want us to talk about how to promote a positive body image in society. So listening for and challenging body shame talk is really, really important. So being able to identify when people are talking shameful or just not kindly about their own bodies or even other people's bodies, and speaking out and calling people out about that behavior. This is really difficult, but it can be really important. And this is how we're going to change positive body image in society, right? So if you hear someone saying something along the lines of like, I'm too fat to eat this, right? Thinking about what would be your response to someone saying something like that, and how could you kindly shut them down and say, hey, we're not going to talk like that. Or if you hear someone talking poorly about another person, like, oh, they shouldn't be wearing that, knowing how to call someone out on that behavior and say, you know, that's not really kind to say, and I actually think they look really great. You know, speaking out against the body shame talk that is very consistent and so regular in our society. Also noticing any of your own negative body talk, again, whether it's about yourself or another person, because I will admit, even myself, I say bad things about my own body. It happens. It's just a natural thing that we do because so many of us have negative body image. And like I said, body image is on this spectrum that can change from hour to hour, day to day. You can wake up having a good body day and feel like you look great. And the end of the day, maybe you're not feeling so great and you want to say something negatively about your body. Instead of doing that, maybe making a pact with someone else or with yourself to stop talking poorly about your own body or about other people's bodies, and just becoming more aware of the language you use when you are talking about your own body and talking about other people's bodies, right? And so I also encourage people to try to start a body acceptance campaign or project, whether it's around their community, their home, school, campus, their workplace, whatever it is. And one of the ideas that students that I've had have most commonly come up with are putting up positive body image quotes on Post-it notes around different places, but there's so many other things that you can do. I'm wondering if anyone else has any ideas about what kinds of body acceptance campaigns or projects they might be able to start, either for themselves, their families, their friends, or their own community. Does anyone have any ideas? I know some people have talked about on Instagram or on social media, not editing pictures or posting. Yes, posters for Eating Disorder Awareness Week. Thank you so much for mentioning that. Yeah, secret notes and slipping them into lockers. I'm so happy to hear that that helped you when you did that in middle school. We've had some people say sending text messages to loved ones, something positive, either about body acceptance or even just a positive note, like you can do this, letting your loved ones know how much you care about them. Posters are great. And I think even social media, right? We talked about how social media promotes negative body image so much in our society. Maybe we can also utilize social media to try to promote positive body image in society with like posting, you know, unedited pictures of ourselves where we don't use Facetune or things like that on the pictures, or sharing a side-by-side of, you know, posed versus unposed, things like that that promote more body acceptance and bodies are good as they are versus we need to change the way our bodies look. Yeah, definitely. I think being vulnerable on social media is really hard, especially on certain platforms. Like, I think Instagram is known as a perfect platform. A lot of people share their really nice pictures, as they should, right? But it can make everyone perceive like they're perfect. And we all know we're not perfect. We're all not all going to beaches all the time and things like that. So being a little vulnerable on social media and not trying to be perfect all the time can promote both positive body image in yourself, as well as maybe send a message to other people that you don't always have to be perfect, which is so true. You don't always have to be perfect. And lastly, I encourage everyone to also try reading up and sharing resources about media literacy, body diversity, body positivity, body acceptance, and health at every size. So media literacy is basically making yourself really aware of how to read, like critically read social media posts by kind of learning how to see how people might have edited their photos, the ways people are captioning their photos and things like that, to be a critical consumer of social media and be able to remind yourself that just because so-and-so is only posting about all of these nice things they're doing or all the nice things that they have does not necessarily mean that their lives are perfect, right? Body diversity, allowing yourself to be exposed to and to see many different types of bodies. Body positivity being just accepting all bodies as they come, and promoting all different types of body sizes as well, especially with body diversity. And health at every size is a philosophy that promotes the idea that bodies can be healthy at any size, right? It's about physical health, mental health, social health, things like that. And a person can be healthy at any size. And what matters is the full encompassing amount of health, and how weight itself does not equal health, and body mass index in of itself does not represent health very well, just alone without the context. All right, and so I did just have up a couple resources, including Health at Every Size, which is that philosophy and organization that promotes the ideology that people can be healthy at any size. The National Eating Disorder Association, which talks about, it's a nonprofit organization that promotes both treatment, funding, prevention of eating disorders. The Body Project is it's a program that is utilized in both high schoolers and college students, where people go through a program that is supposed to prevent eating disorder symptoms and promote positive body image. I actually lead the Body Project, I believe like 2 or 3 times every year with high schoolers in the Louisville area. So if anyone is interested in joining the Louisville chapter or participating in that group, you can always reach out and get some more information. And then The Body, A Home for Love is also a nonprofit organization aimed at promoting body love and self-love among Black women who have experienced trauma in their lives and kind of reclaiming their own bodies. Ooh. And so I want to give credits to my own colleagues, Rowan Hunt and Sarah Ernst, for helping with the presentation, and my lab, because they did help me so much with this. And thank you everyone so much. Does anyone have any questions that I can answer, or any comments that they would like to add in the last few minutes that we do have?